If you look closely at it here, I did mention to the owner that. Okay, I couldn't let it go. This clutch is basically non-existent. This adjustment is toast on it. The adjuster's not working. Some let go inside of here. I should have been able to tighten. I should have been able to hold this, tighten up the nut, and it should disengage the clutch a little bit. But no, it's not working. I gotta bust into it. I gotta take the exhaust off, so I'm gonna have to take this off from up here. So I'm gonna take that apart, take the exhaust off, and we'll bust in here. Have a look. Okay, exhaust has got to come off first, and then we can get to the cover. Okay, wrong size. Hey.
Or guess out. So what that is.
What size?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, how do you know?
Is everything very small? You've
You've done this long.
done a lot. I work on it.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, you're saying I've done a lot. What do you mean I've done?
That means you've done.
I don't think I've done. I work on them.
You worked on a small. You worked on a small engine before. You said you worked on a small engine before. We said you worked on a small engine before. That's pretty much what I've said. And if I'm confusing you, you're confusing me.
Now we can work on getting the side cover bolts off here and have a look at what's going on inside there. Get out of there. There's a pry point right there.
I'm staying away from that.
There's a pry point right here. I'm just gonna see if I can get this to pop off there. I think I got them all. Yeah, maybe it's just glued on there, I guess. Yeah, it's probably never come off. Oh, there we go. All right. Let us have a look at what let go inside of here and why you cannot adjust this clutch. And that would be a dowel pin that it's caught on.
Yeah.
You let her pee a little bit. You really want to try to refrain from sticking the screwdriver in the little gap here and pulling it apart. Come on, so close. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's just what I thought. So, that adjuster, something's missing here. Yeah. Okay, just gonna have a look at this stuff. Okay, I think there's something missing here. I'm missing something, so I'm gonna just bust into this guy here. Impact driver. Best tool in my box.
Huh?
You'll never strip out a Phillips ever again. Or I guess in this case it's a JIC because it's not a Phillips. What the heck am I missing here? Okay. So what is missing in this? And why is this thing so... doesn't want to... Okay. Well, this escalated quickly. So what I found was everything in here. I took the centrifugal clutch out. Here's the clutch plates, just like an automatic transmission. Some springs, and then these are the weights. So as you give it throttle, see these weights? Centrifugal force pushes the weights out. In turn, it lifts the weights up on the bottom, and it puts pressure on those clutch plates. It'll push up, and it'll push, and it'll squeeze the clutch back together. So what I believe was happening was because it's so dirty, and there's so much stuff in there, there wasn't enough. It was grabbing too much. Like this stuff is pretty dirty. So the more dirt and the more grit and the less oil pressure that can get in there, says the oil pressure is going to kind of keep the clutch plates apart. And then when it speeds up, it's going to get squeezed together. So the oil pressure will push it apart. So I think it was old oil, crappy oil, and really dirty clutch. Because looking at the adjuster, this was the adjuster nut I was messing around with, and it had the nut on top, right? And this is what sticks out the top of the case, and that's what you see. But if you look at it, it's got a hole in it. It's also got a hole at the end here. So this is what feeds that clutch with oil, and this hole is plugged. I picked a bunch of crud out of there. That will stop that clutch from disengaging and coming apart when the RPM slows down in the engine. So I really don't think this adjuster does a whole heck of a lot. I mean, what we're going to do is, if you tighten it up more, it will pull this sideways and it'll block off this hole a little bit. It'll let less oil to that. So we want this backed off as much as it can. We want all the oil to go to it, because my suspicion is these clutch plates are worn out. Right, they look like they got a little bit of meat on them, but I mean it's pretty black and it's pretty nasty, and you can see how the design on that starting to. Right, it's not smooth yet. See, it's all dimpled. That's so the clutch plates grab each other. So I mean it's getting down there, but it's not like it should still work just fine with a fat little chubby kid. Or me. So yeah, so I'm going to spend a bit of time. We're going to clean this all back up, and when I come back it'll be time to put it all together. So yeah, I wasn't adjusting that right. Not even close. I had no idea. And if you look in the case, I'll take this off here, bring the case half over here. If you look in the case half, you can kind of see this boss right here that's molded into it. There's a hole right at the very end, and oil pressure goes through this hole and up through the center, and that's where this bolt goes. So that feeds that clutch with oil. So that's how that goes right there. So if any of these orifices in here are plugged, it's not going to feed oil pressure to that. It's not going to disengage the clutch. So yeah, there's a lesson in a centrifugal clutch. I didn't want to take this off. I did not want to take this apart, but you saw the last video when I fired it up. I could barely get that wheel to stop turning, and that's all because this clutch is all locked up and it's grabbing. No good. No good for especially kids. But if I can't get this to work, I mean, I found a place online, VMC, Chinese stuff. You can buy these things for like 30 bucks shipped. So if I can't get it to work, no big deal. But I mean, if you were to look in here, you see all this stuff here. This is why you want to change your oil on these regularly, because you have friction plates. You see all this stuff in here? All this gray stuff. See how we can scrape it off of there? Not changing your oil allows this crud to build up. See that stuff right there? So if this crud is all in here, now keep in mind this crud is little bits of metal. The little bits of metal get embedded into that friction material, and it makes it grab even better. So then when it comes time to release, it doesn't matter that it's got these big honking springs. It still grabs and won't let go. So I'm going to chop it up to crappy oil, not changed enough, too much crud inside of here. See that? Ew. Okay, I'm going to clean this all up. I'm going to come back. It's time to put it together. Alright, all the bits and pieces are clean. The drum is quite a bit nicer than it was. And there's no cracks. The drum looks okay. It's not damaged. It's looking good. So if you wanted to go buy, I could go buy one of these on that website. You just need that 110D. Need that number. I mean, I found these things are pretty darn cheap. But okay, so the weights are all free. Weights were not jiggling before. There was so much metal and junk and all nasty stuff in there. All free. You can actually see through the little holes down here. Those are the oil feed holes for the clutch. Looking good. So let's put it back together. So we are going to get the springs. And put this drum on here. So we want to put it on like, let's go like this. Right, then the springs are in there, and the springs push. What do the springs do? Yeah, so that would be, so the springs in there would be the adjustment. When the friction plates here start to wear out, then you come in here and you just loosen these guys off, and it'll put more pressure. It'll put more inward pressure on that clutch, because as you tighten this up, it's going to pull this. I don't know what you call this, the weight thing. The weight carrier. It'll push the weight carrier into the clutch, and like it won't take much. You just back it off a half a turn, and it will put more pressure on that clutch, so you get a little bit more ride time out of it. Weights are all nice and free. Okay, and when I took it apart, I took the pieces and flipped them down as they came apart. So we're going to take this first piece, and you can see the witness marks on here, these little lines. They sat on the weights before, so I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to put it on a spot where the weights haven't touched on this plate, just to get a little more time out of this plate. So they're right there, so that would be there. So I'm just going to turn this. I'm going to turn it to the next slot. Then this would be considered the clutch boss. This would go on next. And that goes down onto here. There's actually feed holes in this too. So there's some feed holes there. Those holes are completely plugged, and then those holes are also completely plugged. So this clutch, it would never would have released. So I'm kind of glad I went this deep into take her apart. So the clutch boss goes on there next. And then it's a matter of stacking the frictions. So you're going to start with a friction. This is a kind of a weird one. It's got friction on one side and then steel on the other. And this has got these little notches in here because there's springs that keep this clutch pack apart. There's 4 springs. So if you look, there's a little pin. You're not going to be able to see because of my crappy lighting, but there's a pin right there. There's 4 pins for these little springs which we're going to put in last. So then that goes over. That's another steel with the friction. Then we are going to put the little springs in. These would be like, I believe these would be similar to the load springs that would come out of a 4L60E in the drum. But in that case, it's trying to let the clutch release before the drum grabs, because the clutch will win every time. So then this guy goes on here. This has got the little pins on it. The little pins on it there, you see that capture the springs. So we're going to put this on this way, like that. Now this captured those springs, right? Yeah, see, I wasn't able to do this before. So this would be the engine running. Brum, 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 brum. And then we're going to put the ring in there. So this would be the snap ring. It holds everything together. Snap ring here would hold everything together. So we're going to put it on here. Something like that. And no, not like that. Go like that. Excellent. And as you can see, I got the ends. The ends of the ring are not on here. They're kind of out. I learned that from Precision Transmission. Pretty awesome videos to watch. So now the drum's together, I should be able to spin this. Oh yeah, see, I can actually spin that. So now, when the engine's running, the clutch can free spin, and then when the engine picks up, those weights swing out, push against the frictions, and squeeze the frictions together. And that's how these clutches work. So if it's misadjusted and it doesn't want to go, I'm going to come in here and I can just back these off. I can just come in and I can loosen these off, 2 or like maybe half a turn or something. And it's not going to come right. It's not going to come off because it's under spring tension. It's like an air screw on a carburetor. It's got that spring. It keeps tension on the screw. So I can loosen this off. It'll put more pressure on that friction plate, on that friction pack, the clutch pack. But I don't think I need that. I mean, this thing was grabbing so hard I couldn't even get it to release. So that's it. She's all built. So now to put her back, actually she's not built. There is one more thing that has to go on here. You got this baby here, this big washer. That washer's got to go on there. That just keeps the 2 pieces. So this piece here, which has got the teeth in it, and this piece here, which grabs the frictions, these are 2 different pieces. So you want to put this puts this on here and it puts pressure on that. And then we just put the snap ring back on, then she's done, and I can put her back on, and it'll actually work. So I'd like to correct myself when I was looking at this. So this adjuster is not about a pin and a clutch. I thought this was all about a pin, pushing on a clutch, releasing a clutch pack. It is not. This is all about oil pressure. So as I was saying before, there's a boss on the inside here. That oil pressure goes through this hole. Oil pressure is going to go into here. And all this is, when you take this and you turn it a little bit, it blocks off that hole. It allows less oil pressure to that clutch. So that means it will, so if you add more pressure to it, it'll release the clutch more. Less pressure, it'll grab the clutch more. So you don't have to sit there and spin and spin and spin this. All you do is you want to spin that hole and then you turn it like that, and just a little bit of movement here will open that orifice up and allow just a little bit more oil pressure in. So if these were plugged, like this one was, no oil is going to get through that. So I'm going to clean this up. The gasket is semi-okay. I'm almost tempted just to rip it off and put the right stuff on there. Scrape all this crap off of here. Because if I don't, it's going to leak. I know it's going to leak. Alright, decision's made. I'm pulling that off. I just about forgot one thing. We got these springs here. So these are cushion springs. And they go in here. Right, because remember, this here is part of that weight, centrifugal weight thing. I don't know what the heck you call it. And then this here is on the cage. So when the clutch grabs, it's gonna in this case when it grabs. This spring just allows it as a cushion. So you can imagine these. If you look at a friction disc of a standard clutch, there's springs around it, and the springs are attached to the splines. So when it grabs, it's not a big bang and a clunk when it grabs. It's a nice even cushiony. So I'm just gonna throw these in here, and then I'll go put her back on the machine, and we'll see if it works. Alright, we got the clutch back on there. She's tightened up. Lock ring is in place. Now this is interesting. I was never able to actually do this before. They can spin the back tire. Spinning the back tire with my hands. Oh, you can't even see it. Spinning the back tire with my hands here, and you see the clutch. See how loose it is now? Right? Before, you couldn't do that. Because this gear here, ouch, just ate my finger. This gear here is connected to the clutch plates inside here. So you see that it'll turn it, but if I put my hand on it, it'll freely, right? It won't spin. Before it wouldn't, everything was all locked up in here. So now we should be good. So side cover is gonna go on now. Got the side cover all cleaned up, looks pretty good. I got this guy lined up where it should be. I didn't replace the gasket. The gasket ripped in one spot right here, but I just used a bit of Honda Bond on that. Should be just fine. If it leaks, oh well, these gaskets are cheap. I just want to get this thing running. I gotta make sure this guy's in here. This here. What the heck? I think I have mice in my shop. Huh. Okay, here we go. Oh, I forgot to put the dowel pin back in. I pulled the dowel pin out. I forgot to put the dowel pin back in. So I'm just going to put the dowel pin back in here. Okay. Alright. Third time's a charm. Here we go. Ah. Something right here. Happened. Okay. Fourth time's the charm. Here we go. Darn it, I'm missing one. Yeah, I found her. That took way too long. Would you believe it fell down on the floor underneath my table? Fell down underneath my table. I don't remember it hitting the floor, but oh well. Just about to put a different one on there. Okay, side cover's on. Just gotta tighten these bolts up, fill it with oil, and yeah, give her a shot. All right. I was checking out this this side cover and thought, you know what? This side cover looks kind of funny. It has provisions here, like it's all cast. It's not machined. So I guess you can do quite a few engines. They can do quite a few engines with these cases. So this is the 50cc, right? Small little cylinder. This here, this boss, would be for a Kickstarter. And on the inside here, there's provisions for a shift drum. And so this engine can also do like hand clutch, which I believe what some of this is for. So like this adjuster here would be for like the hand style clutch. You can loosen the clutch off, you know, with the clutch cable and like actual clutch, not the automatic clutch. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And you can like stick your flashlight in here, and this engine case is like empty. There's nothing in it. There's just, you know, one gear on this side, and it goes through, goes to another gear, and it spins it out here. And there's not a whole lot in here for this engine. So that is actually pretty cool. So a lot of these 50, 70, 110cc engines, they all utilize the same case, which I thought was pretty cool. So, you know, they got something right when they built these things. Okay, oil next. So I'm not picky with whatever. I can just put whatever kind of oil in. I got some 30 weight. 30 weight's usually pretty good for these engines. I mean, it's not like it's running at minus 30 degrees out. Can't even see. Or do you care? Do you care if you watch me put oil in an engine? Probably not, but I'll make it happen anyways. Not sure I'm gonna have enough oil in this jug. I don't know. I'm not sure if there's enough. Oh, you know what would help? Is if I put the drain plug back in. Oh no! Oh boy, that is hilarious. Okay, I haven't done that before. Oh, there goes half my oil jug, right under the table. Let's see if we can get you down there. Yeah. So it's always important to not rush jobs. Cause yeah, I forgot to put the oil plug in. No, I gotta clean that up. Crap. Okay, mess is cleaned up. Let's try this again. On the plus side, the case isn't leaking down here, so the gasket wasn't too screwed up. Not sure if I'm gonna have enough oil for this now that I spilled half of my jug on the onto the table. What do you think? Well, that might be enough. No, not even close. Doesn't even register on the stick. Darn it. Okay, I gotta dig some more oil up from somewhere. Alright, found some more oil for it. This oil here is probably a little bit better for it. This is a 1040. You want to run kind of a thick oil on these. Diesel oil is usually the better to run in these things. I ran the Rotella T in my Banshee in the transmission there for a while, like that stuff. You gotta remember too, this has got wet clutches in it. So let us see where the oil is. You know what? I gotta take it off with a block of wood. Gotta level it out a little bit. There we go. Jeez, how much oil do you put in these things? Oh, it's starting to show on the stick. Boy, my lighting in my shop is terrible. Alright, see where we are now. Yeah, it's up there pretty good. You don't want to put too much oil in these things. Yeah, it's just starting to show on the stick. I don't know if you'll be able to tell. Yeah, you're not going to tell. Anyway, we're up there. We're up there enough to test her out anyway. Oh, it's coming up. That's a good sign. Okay, a little more. Gotta put a little more. Much better. All ready for a fire. Alright, exhaust is on. She's ready for a fire up. But when I started taking this stuff apart, actually when I started putting it back on, I noticed kind of got a bit of an issue that I'm going to have to fix before the kids take it out for a ride. Check this out. The engine's kind of like hanging out. Not really, it's like it's not really bolted in. I don't know what happened. If it was... like if it's not tight or if it's missing some washers or something, I don't know, but that has to be fixed before a kid takes it out for a ride. Well, we get to see if I either fixed it or made it worse. Battery's hooked up, it's ready for a fire. Still doesn't want to let go. I have to buy a new one. Alright, I'm done. The color done. I guess we could go for a ride. It's a little dark out. See how well those lights work. Turn the key on. You can get the brakes working on it too. So, and push the button. Hey, not bad. Yeah, see how well these lights work. Hey, that's pretty good. Oh, that chain needs to be adjusted though. Yeehaw! Oh, this little guy can book her. Alright, I guess good enough for today. Alright, right on. Sweet little machine. I'm sure I'll come up with some other video to make on this thing, but hey, that clutch needs to be replaced. I tried my best to get it working. It just doesn't matter how you adjust it, it won't work. Either it's worn out or it's just got too much crap in there. But they're cheap. Get a new one. But that's it. Hey, there's another one done.